Let's go through and check yesterday's assignment. Lyla baked 200 cupcakes for the school bake sale. She sold 80% of them. How many did she sell? Let's give you a visual representation. This box represents 100% of the cupcakes, um, and we can break the 100% down into 10% increments. So let's do that. I've resized it and I made it into 10 equal sections there. So let me just put in the percents. If you added them all up, it would equal 100%. You know, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different boxes there. But 80% of them were sold. So let's just kind of highlight those. So those 8 boxes of 10% were all sold, so that would equal a total of 80%. And this 20% over here, these two 10 boxes left over, would be the 20% not sold. So now we just got to ask ourselves, are we more interested in the amount that she did sell or the amount she did not sell? And it becomes pretty apparent that she's asking how many did she sell, that we're interested right here with 80% sold. So 80% of what? You know, 80% of what? Well, she had 200 cupcakes and she sold 80% of them. So it's just 0.80 times 200 and we get 160. So Lyla sold 160 cupcakes. Now, if we had changed the question of how many did she not sell, we'd be more interested in this 20%. So it's this idea of how these percentages fit together. If they give you 1%, understand that there's usually another percent that would add up with it, that would add together to be 100%. So if we're talking about 80%, there's also an unspoken 20%. And then you just need to make sure that you understand what each percentage represents. In this case, sold and not sold. 15% of a bag of chocolate candies have a red coating on them. Heaven forbid we mention M&Ms, right? Copyright infringement. How many red pieces are in a bag of 60 candies? So the big thing that we need to do is we need to find out the percentage. And they're interested about this 15%. And 15% of them have a red coating. So 15% of what? Well, how many red pieces are in a bag of 60 total? So this is your total. So it's really 15% of 60 is all that we have to do there. And, you know, at this point, we've done the previous lessons about how to make a percent into a decimal. We've also talked about how to find a certain percentage of a number. And so we know that's just 0.15 times 60, and that would be 9. So basically, there are 9 red pieces of candy in a bag of 60 total pieces. Something like that. We're trying to restate the question. So here we go. The lunchroom at Prairie Middle School sold 90% of the burger meat they ordered for the week. If Mrs. Halgurst ordered 900 pounds of meat for a week's worth of burgers, how many pounds of meat did the lunchroom sell? So again, we've got this one percentage given to us. And if we talked about it, let's go ahead and do a visual representation for this one since we didn't do the last one. So there we go. We've got 10 sections of 10%, so it would add up to be 100%. That's everything. And when we're talking about, hey, they sold 90% of the hamburger meat, of the burger meat, we need to basically represent 90% on this. So that would be 9 sections of this. Now, again, what did this 90% represent? Of the burger meat they ordered for the week was sold. Okay, so let's just go ahead and slide this up here. 90% was sold. That means that 10% was not sold. And hang on just a second here. We'll shrink this down to kind of fit that in there. There we go. So that's what's going on there. 90% was sold, 10% was not sold. So if Mrs. Halgurst ordered 900 pounds for the week's worth of burgers, you know, if that 100% was 900 pounds, how many pounds of the meat did the lunchroom sell? So the 100% was 900 total pounds. So we just want to know what's 90% of 900. And let's see, I want to say, oh, typed it in wrong. Yeah, it'd be 810 pounds. How do we figure that out? We turned the percent into a decimal, moved it to the left 2 times, and then just multiplied it by 900, and we got 810. So they sold 810 pounds of meat. Here we go. 45% of the same 60 students polled said cats were their favorite pets. How many of the 60 students preferred cats? So let's just do a representation again. Let's just get a box set up showing the 100%. If you're doing it on your paper, just make a rectangle like that and just know, hey, this represents 100%. And then, 45%, that's a little bit less than half. Just draw a line a little bit less than halfway across your box and then label it. So since I drew the line here and this side's a little bit less than half, we're just going to label it. That 45% represented those that said cats were their favorite. And then also just ask yourself, well, what would I have to add to 45% to make it 100? And that'd be 55%, and that's the other responses. Maybe they say dogs are the favorite, that sort of thing. But this gives you a visual representation. Now, what was 100%? How many students did they really talk to? They talked to 60 different students. So together, this is a total of 60 students total. That's 100%, 60. Of these 60 students, 45% said the cats are their favorite. So we're interested in 45% of the 60. So it would be 0.45 times 60. Type that into your calculator, and we get an answer of 27. So your answer would be 27 of the 60 students preferred cats as their favorite pet. And we fixed the typo, so we're good there. Last question. 82% of 300 boys polled said that they like to play outdoors. How many boys like to play outdoors? So here's the visual representation. This box represents 100%. Now, 82% of the boys said they like to play outdoors. So we're going to, maybe draw a line right here. And so now, from here to here, it's about 82%. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we can see it's the majority of it. What would I add on to 82% to make 100? Well, it'd be 18. And this just gives us the visual representation to let us understand what's going on. Now, remember, 100% represented 300 boys. So, if 300 boys had all voted that they like to play outdoors, the answer to the question would be 300. But only 82% of the 300 wanted to play outdoors, and that's what we want to know. So it's 0.82 times 300. And that would be 246. So, it's a story problem. We just need to restate the problem. 246 boys like to play outdoors. And you could get into more details. You could say 246 of the 300 boys like to play outdoors if you like, but I mean, this gets the point across. Hopefully the visual representation will help you understand a little bit too. And another thing I want to point out, 82% is not 100%. So your answer should be less than 300. It has to be, because 100% of 300 is 300. So 82%, it needs to be less than 300. Hey, here's 246. It's less than 300. That makes sense. You want to start asking yourself, does my answer make sense? You don't want to just trust your calculator, because what happens if you forgot to make this into 0.82? You'd say 82 times 300, and it would be a huge number. Let's see, I'm working out right now. It actually show you it's 24,600, and that would make no sense. You only talk to 300 boys. How did 24,600 say they like the outdoors? So you want to be on the lookout for that type of reasoning to prevent the